Okay. So I haven't been able to. I in fact forgot uh, about your visualizations and those examples that you have asked for. Give me a quick minute. Let
Yeah,
me
yeah.
note that down. I just remembered it after you joined that call. I realized that I had to send you. Uh,
Okay, that's fine. So, yeah, I did practiced,
uh
and initially I was having bit of a challenges to kind of, move around between
mhm.
visualization
Right.
and then the data source builder and all that.
Mm,
But I was able to do it. But
mm.
while doing, I was having certain questions. So
Yeah,
probably, yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so the
go ahead.
first one is
Mhm.
that through Drive only we will be able to create a discovery board,
Yes.
or do we have any other approach?
So currently it's only enabled through Drive. So earlier,
Okay.
right. So there's no other option. So you mean what you're saying is, can you search for discovery board and then access discovery board or some other task or processes? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
No, no.
yeah,
At
absolutely.
this
That's
point
what
in
my
time,
ask.
yeah. So at this point in time, Drive is only enabled through discovery. Sorry, discovery boards is only enabled through Drive,
Yeah.
right? So basically,
And
let's put it this way. So if you don't have access to Drive, even if you have access to discovery boards, it doesn't work. So you'll have to first drive
okay,
in your tenant, the drive has to be set up. You should have the relevant permissions
okay.
in the security policies, and then your discovery board
Yeah.
will work.
So the other question I had was through proxy we won't be able to access the discovery boards, is it? Like so for
Yes,
instance, so
I
when I
should have.
logged into iAdmin,
I should have mentioned this. Yes. So proxy access is not enabled for Drive. I forgot mentioning this. Proxy access
okay, okay, that's fine.
is not enabled. So if you proxy, it will give you an error when you try accessing discovery boards. And this is also true for some other
Yeah.
functionalities in Workday. It doesn't work.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, that sounds good.
So
And
this is just part. If you
yeah,
go through community, this is part of the community documentation itself. That proxy access doesn't
mhm,
work.
mhm.
Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
But where I tried to find that information. So
Mhm.
when you said community, are you referring to the Workday documentation?
Yeah. Do you have access to Workday community?
I do, but I have it from a customer point of view.
Okay, maybe that's why. And then you have access to only certain areas. That could be
Ah,
an issue. Okay, because I have other students as well. For example, someone from talent, I'm taking their session, and when I search for something, I get, for example, all the details on Workday's new features enhancements. But when they search with their access,
oh.
uh, it community doesn't give those results. So even within community, you have those restrictions. So I think you have
Ah,
a end user view, a customer, your access is set up as a client consultant. That
correct,
is your pro
correct.
kind of access, while mine
Yeah,
is
yeah,
consultant.
pro.
Okay, but then the
Okay.
problem is you cannot directly download everything from. I'm sure you know, right? There's no way to download those. The only so this
Yeah,
community
yeah,
you
that
cannot.
is there. You
Right.
just need to do copy
You
or
just need
paste.
to, yeah. So that is the biggest challenge with, but it makes sense. They want it that way. They don't want people to share
Yeah,
community.
yeah, correct. Yeah. So the other question I had was, so for example, so let's say I know like as a Workday as an application, so it
Mhm,
does every customer will have a single source of applications, right? Whether
mhm,
they want to enable it or not, that's there on the customer side.
mhm,
But my question here is, so as a Prism Analytics as a feature itself,
mhm.
it does applicable for all the customers or only for them who subscribed for it, or as a contractual agreement. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
So see, at least at those contractual levels, I am also not uh, aware, because obviously at my role I'm not involved in what kind of discussions or negotiations happen, right? But yes, this is a separate
Right.
subscription. I mean, for example, if
Ah,
you need payroll US, it doesn't come as part of your, it's a separate SKU, right? Stock keeping unit, and Workday charges separately for that. So Prism is also a
yeah.
separate subscription, and how it works is, uh, the contract is based on the amount. So your contract happens at two levels. So this is what I know, but obviously I don't know the commercials. The first one is the amount of disk space used, right? And then the second is the number of records which are published,
Number of
which are
employee records,
published,
right? When you said
not
records.
not employee records. See, so the flow is, you get data from different sources, and this need not be employee data,
Yes.
right? This could be payroll data, this could be financials data. You get
Ah,
data,
okay, okay, okay.
right? So finally, when you publish this data, let me show that to you. So, any which ways, we'll talk about this when, but let, okay. So if I go to data catalog,
Okay.
okay, from here, if I navigate to this activities, here it shows you the disk space that you had used. Okay. So your
Oh,
agreement happens on this. So the
acha.
total disk
Okay.
space that has been used. So when you have this agreement, your commercials with Workday, it's based on two factors: the amount of disk that you're going to use, and the number of millions or
Mhm.
billions of records that you're going to publish.
Record. Okay. Okay.
Right? So that is how it works.
So, the data catalog, right? So, I mean, how will it understands it is using the number of records because for each of the distribution, I mean, out of curiosity, I was wondering. So the disk space I understand, okay, but from the but how will it understand the number of records? Is it is it you know what I mean? Like,
Okay. It so it okay. So the records are stored in your data sets. In which ways, we'll talk about that in detail. So we have data sets, and when we
oh,
publish, so system knows, how many, obviously, right? It knows how many millions of records
so,
are there is in each data source. So
mm,
finally, it's the data
mm,
source
mm,
which system tracks,
mm.
which are basically Prism data
Right,
sources. So yes,
right,
so at
right.
least if you look at
So,
this system, it knows exactly that there are 463.1 K rows that are published. So it keeps track of how many
okay, so
millions or billions of rows that are published in your system.
so it does only show the ones which are okay. So you're saying these are all the data sets. These are
Right.
not the discovery boards.
These are not discovery
Okay.
boards. So see again, you're
Okay.
two confusing different
Hmm.
things, right? We spoke about this yesterday as well.
Right.
So your
Right. Right. Right.
Prism, your discovery boards
Mm-hmm.
is only a set of visualizations, right? Analytics that you are creating on your data. Now, that data can come from your Workday sources, which is your internal Workday data, or it could be Prism data, right? So, Prism is just a source
Okay.
of data for discovery boards. That's it. If you don't have Prism, you can still have discovery boards. So Prism is now no more related to discovery boards, or discovery boards is now no more dependent on Prism. Even if you don't have Prism, you can still use all your standard data sources and build your
Yes.
discovery board. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So these are now two completely independent objects. Of course,
Right.
discovery boards are, they use Prism, but then even if there's no Prism, they can still be using your standard data sources. And that's what we have done, right? Workers for HCM reporting, it's nothing but a standard
Right.
data.
Right.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
So your data set only includes those which are external or a combination of internal plus external.
Internal plus external.
Yeah.
That is the whole idea of
Okay.
Prism. Prism
Right.
allows you
Right.
to blend both of them, right? So if it's only
Right.
internal, you
Right.
don't need Prism. You any which ways have Workday, right? For that.
Yeah.
And if it is
Correct. Correct.
only external, you may have separate external systems. It's only when you want to blend both
Mm-hmm.
of these.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. It's clear now. Thanks. And sorry, one last question. So
No, 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 go ahead.
whatever the discovery board which I have created, will you be able to see that?
Yeah. So we'll talk about sharing. Okay,
Because
so
I
you
created
have
with
used the same user, right? With the same user?
no, 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 no.
Okay.
I have used some Jacqueline, it seems.
Okay,
I get, yeah,
then we'll talk about sharing concept. So you'll have to share those
acha,
discovery boards with me.
acha. Okay, okay, fine.
Okay.
We'll talk. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
these are the
Now,
questions I have. Thank you.
sure. Okay. Uh, where is my discovery board? It is here, and I'm going to open it. So in my discovery board, I currently have only uh, two visualization types. Uh, I'm just getting a ping. Give me a quick second. Okay. So we have two visualizations that we have created. Now there's something called mark type as well. So currently, and this is relevant for your visualizations of type chart. So currently we have both our visualizations are of type chart, right? And with respect to chart, let me click on edit. I can select a different mark type as well. Now this is what we in fact selected for our first visualization. So if we look at our first visualization, okay. So with respect to first visualization, if you see, we selected two different mark types. So the what is a mark? Basically the type of chart layout or the chart that you want to see. So while on
Okay.
x-axis, our mark type is a bar, and let me click here. So these are the four mark types that are available. The first one is the
Mhm.
bar, and on x-axis on this, or on the left y-axis we selected bar, and on the right y-axis we selected marks of type line, right? So when it comes
Yeah.
to chart, there are these four visualization types are available. So in with respect to charts, these are all called mark types, or the types of mark in chart visualization.
Okay, 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 okay.
Right?
So,
Mhm.
yeah, by default, you will get bar chart, is it?
Right. By default, we get bar chart, but if we want, we can select
Okay.
any of the other chart types. So let me show you with
Yeah,
respect to the
because,
second one.
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
actually, I was trying to change the chart type to
Okay.
something else, but I
Okay.
was only getting either donut or
Right.
heat space, heat
Right.
map.
So those are
Uh,
completely different visualization types altogether. right? So these
Okay.
are completely
Okay. Okay.
different visualization types. But within this, for example, now I can click on marks, and instead of this,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
can select my this to be line,
Okay.
right? Or
Okay.
any,
Okay. Now it.
okay. So these are the four visualization types or mark types. These are all called marks that are applicable with respect
Mm.
to a chart type visualization,
Okay.
right? Okay, so a bar, each each mark is displayed as a rectangular bar. I think this is all self-explanatory. Point is usually used for your, for example, scatter plot analysis, right? Uh,
Mm.
line area is same as line, but the only difference is in an area, all the underlying area between that, between your horizontal axis is colored. If I go here and if I select area, so everything below that is colored in that. An area is similar to a line graph. The only difference is everything under it would be colored in that section. Okay. Now, however, having said
Okay.
that, Workday automatically identifies, and usually, if you see the moment you select a chart type, visualization type as chart, Workday automatically defaults it to bar graph. So, and not just that, based on the kind of visualization that you're trying to generate, Workday would automatically identify the relevant chart type for you or marks type for you. But then that is something we can always change if we want to. Okay. So that is something we can all, the way I have
Okay.
changed now. Okay. The second thing. Now with respect to sharing. Now I am saving this discovery board and I can go ahead and share the discovery board. So to answer your question, can I see your discovery boards? Not until you have shared it with me, right?
Okay.
Discovery boards are created by an individual and they can be shared by, so just like we create a report, and when we create a report,
Report. Yeah. Yeah.
it is not shared with anyone,
Got it.
right? And then you can explicitly share it with.
Correct.
So we can
But
Mhm. Go ahead.
sorry, Ravi, but in a report, right, as an admin, if I have a report writer access, I
Hmm.
will still be able to see, even if you do not share. It's
Right,
just that I cannot run it, right?
right,
So do we have
correct.
that flexibility here?
So as an admin, you have the task view custom report, right? And using view custom report, you can
Correct.
see that, right? Now that option is not
Correct.
available here, right? Because if you see
Okay.
as an
Okay.
admin, what do you see in a when you so let's say you are an admin or and I have created some report. You can go to the task view custom report
Hmm.
and you can search for
Hmm.
the report I created and you can see what do you see? You only see the report definition, right? You still do not have
Yes.
access to
Correct.
run that report. But with respect to a
Correct.
visualization, there's no concept of a report definition. So the moment you see
Yeah.
this
It's just the data.
visualization, you are ultimately seeing the data, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So that
Makes
is
sense.
why, so it's exactly the same concept. Here, there's no concept of definition at all.
ठीक है. Okay. Perfect.
Okay, so share a discovery board using Workday Drive, and you can share
Um,
this with an yeah with an
you
individual.
want me to keep the question, Ravi,
No, no,
sorry. You
go
want
ahead.
me to keep
Whenever
the
the
questions
question,
in the end because,
I'm fine with it.
okay,
Whenever you
okay.
get a
Because,
question, you can. Sure.
okay, that's fine. I'm good now because I know I'm interrupting a lot today. So,
No, that is
yeah.
fine. No,
Okay.
I understand that. I'm comfortable. That is fine. Okay.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
the first thing is how do you share a discovery board? That's pretty simple, right? So if I go back to my I'm not sure if we can share directly from here. No, there's no option. Okay, there's no option to share directly from here. If I go to Drive, now the moment I click a discovery board, if you see, I have an option to share it, right? Okay, now I can click here.
Yeah.
It gives me two options. I can share it with an individual or a security group as well. So currently, I do not
Oh,
have the authorization to share it with a security group. Let's look at the discovery board here. So if I come to Drive, I had created a few. Yes, let's look at this discovery board and I want to share it. All right. If you see here, I have the option to share it with individuals as well as other security groups. All right. Now, because this is a fresh tenant and I have not enabled that access, the only option that I get is to share the discovery board with individuals. Okay. Now,
okay. How?
what is the
Okay.
user that you created or that you access for?
Jacqueline, I guess. Jacqueline.
Okay,
I think the bigger
Jacqueline,
one. Yeah, I guess so.
right? Okay,
Yeah, I
let
believe
me
so.
search for some user called Hiroshi. Now, if you see, I'm searching for a user called Hiroshi, and let me open a duplicate tab. Okay, let me search for Hiroshi. You see, Hiroshi Yoshida is actually a manager,
Okay.
right? But then I am able to search for Jacqueline, right? But let's search for Hiroshi. Hiroshi. If you see, the system doesn't return me any results. Let's see if I can give, I want to give view access. And now let me see if I can search for Hiroshi. Okay, let me go back to edit access and HI. Okay, if you see, uh, and if I give view access, when I give view access, if you see the results that are displayed, when I say can view, the options that are
Hmm.
displayed are extra. So I have some user called hired709 and hired713 in addition to Andrew Hills and Hema Iyer. But when I am sharing this discovery board with a can edit access and then I search for Hiroshi, HI, what are the options that are returned? So the first thing, when I share a discovery board, so discovery boards can be shared with either can view access or can edit access. So basically what I'm saying is this person I'm sharing this discovery board with, he can only view the discovery board, right? Or I'm saying he can also edit the discovery board. Make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, the
Mm,
reason,
no, no, no.
right, in
Sorry.
order to,
So,
Mhm,
okay. So the can edit person is only can have a flexibility to edit the discovery boards, right?
right. So
And
when
the
I,
view is nothing but just running a.
right, correct. So when I'm selecting the option can view and sharing it with, for example, Jacqueline, where
But
is,
why not all the users are seen there? Is it because they do not have access?
yes. Okay. So again, when I say
Okay.
can view and search for JAC, this is what I was trying to show you.
Mhm.
The list of options are
Right.
much more, but the moment I change it to can view, I only get
Okay.
directly get right. So the first thing, and let's talk about everything that we have seen. So the first thing, who can share a discovery board? In order to share a discovery board, either the person must be an owner. So when I say an owner, either I have created my own discovery board, then I can share it, right? Or
Hmm. Yeah.
have, excuse me, can edit permission given by the owner. So it means if I have created a discovery board, Julie Bowles, and I share it to you, Jacqueline, if I share it to you with can view access, you can only view this discovery board, but you cannot edit it, you cannot share it with someone else. But if I have given you can
Okay.
edit access, then you also can share it with someone else, right? So who can
Hmm.
share a discovery board? Either the owner himself or someone who has been given a can edit permission by the owner. Make
By
sense?
the owner. Okay. Okay.
So if I,
Yeah. So that is clear.
okay,
Even in
yes,
the even in the can edit, why I'm only seeing certain set of users?
yes, we'll talk about that. Okay. So the first thing is who can share this discovery board and what are the permissions with which they can share this discovery board, right? So two things clear. When
Hmm.
I share a discovery board, I can share it with can view or can edit. And who can share a discovery board? Either an owner or someone who has a can edit access can share a discovery board.
Right.
Okay. And the second
Okay.
question is, why is that I own, when I share it, for some users I can only give can view, some users I can only give can edit. So this is the second part.
Hmm.
Let's talk about this.
Okay.
Okay. So the first thing, to share a discovery board with a security group, there is one thing that you have to do. Tenant must be set up for group sharing on Drive. So if you see in this tenant, at this point in time, I'm not able to share this discovery board with a security group. I can only share it with individuals, right? Whereas this tenant, I can share it with security groups as well. That's because this tenant is not set up for group sharing. Now, how do I set up that tenant for group sharing? So your tenant must be set up for group sharing on Drive,
Hmm.
and you do that using the task configure group sharing in Drive. So let's go ahead and access this task.
Okay, okay.
I think this is not enabled, and if it is not, we'll go ahead and enable this permission.
Mm-hmm.
First thing is this is so slow. Okay, this is not enabled. So let me go to use security for securable item. Let's see which domain it is included, and then we'll go ahead and activate it. So unless you configure your tenant for group sharing, you do not get that group security group option.
Okay, okay.
This tenant is, yeah. Okay. Configure group and let's say drive. All right. So this is the task, configure group sharing in drive. Right
Mm-hmm.
now, no security group has the authorization. Let's go to the domain, security policy. In fact, this is not activated. Uh, Suspended. Domain security policy. Okay. And now let me add some security groups. So we'll add HR administrators and what all admin should be given. A report admin, right? And then we'll also give access to implementers. And we'll give them modify permissions. And now let's activate our security policy changes. So if you see in this tenant, we don't have Prism Analytics enabled, but we have Drive enabled. All right. You there, Sai? Or have I lost you?
No, no, I was on
Oh,
mute. I'm there.
sorry. Okay. So I'm just enabling this. And now let's go to
Okay.
the task, configure group sharing in Drive. All right. So this is the task. Here I'll have to basically, so if this checkbox is enabled, I'm basically saying only administrators can share with others. So for example, managers cannot share with others, right? However, I'm saying discovery
Okay.
boards, and these are the security groups. I'm just saying these are the default security groups which are enabled, and let's just save this. So basically, what are we configuring? We are basically saying discovery boards can be shared by these security groups,
Okay.
or can be shared with these security groups. Now, if I come back and let's click on share, okay, see, share with groups is enabled as well. All right, makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Okay.
So, when we mentioned the default security groups,
Mhm.
it can still be overridden, right? I can still add
Not
more
here.
if I want to.
No, yeah, here you can add. So let me do that. So configure.
In the configure, we can add,
Yes,
but
once we have
not in
added
the
here,
actual discovery group.
no, no, only
Okay,
something that is added here, to them you can give access here. So if I go to this group, let me search for, so right now, let me just search for administrator. If you see, it only gives me comp admin and HR admin. It doesn't give me anything else.
okay,
So let me search for payroll as an
okay.
example.
Yeah,
However, if I have added payroll admin here, now end users can, so I'm saying payroll admin and save this. Now when I search for payroll, let's, is it because, okay, maybe the payroll admin, they don't have access to this uh, underlying. However, let me try that once again. So there are a few other aspects and we'll talk about that next. So I believe that is the reason. So just having being configured here is not enough, but then there are other prerequisites as well. However, let me search with admin. Okay. So again, I'm not getting payroll admin in this list, right? Let me see if I can add uh, report admin. Those are strange. Uh, sure. Let's change this to can view. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Sorry. Let's talk. Let's see why I'm not getting with can edit permission. So the first thing is clear. In order to be able to share the discovery board with security groups, group sharing should
hmm,
be enabled using this task,
yeah,
configure group sharing in Drive. The second thing
yeah.
is discovery boards should obviously be shareable with those groups, must be shareable with the security groups. So if your security groups, if your discovery board are not shareable at all, then obviously you cannot share, right? Which means when I say not shareable, if your security groups is not listed here, then obviously even if
Hmm,
this
okay.
task is set up, then still you cannot share. Now the final thing, right? That can view, can edit. What is happening here? So if you see again, when I say can view, now I have the HR partner option enabled. Then when I say can edit, now if I search for HR partner, it doesn't come up. So finally is who can be given can view access versus who can be given can edit access. So this is users and groups can be given can view or can edit permissions. But then to give can view permission, so who can be given can view permission? If the user or group must have permission to at least one data source used in the discovery board. Now, if you see, let's first talk about user share with individuals. So this discovery board that I have created, it has been created on data source workers for HCM reporting, right? Now I can only share this discovery board with a user in can view mode if that user has access to the data source. So that is why if you see, if I search for Hiroshi, I'm not able to search Hiroshi in can view access as well. So the reason is Hiroshi Yoshida, he's a user, but he doesn't have access to the underlying data source on which this discovery board has been created. Make sense,
Yeah, yeah. So
right?
that's that.
Sorry.
Just to, I think if Hiroshi do not have access to the underlying data source,
Mhm.
he or she should not even perform edit also, right?
Exactly. So if I cannot give you view, obviously I cannot give
Ah,
you edit. That goes
okay,
without
like
saying.
that.
Okay.
Okay.
So
All right,
the
all right.
first is I can only give you view permission. Now a discovery board can be built on multiple data sources. So let's say I have 10 visualizations in a discovery board. Two, two are on data source A, the other five are on data source B, and then I have three more on data source C. So in a single discovery board, I have created 10 visualizations on three data sources. So if you have at least view access to one of those data sources, then only I can share this discovery board with you in a view mode. What happens? You only
Mhm.
have access to one data source, you don't have access to the other two data sources. You'll not be able to see the other reports built on those data sources. So you can see the visualization, but you'll only see those visualizations that are based on the data source that you have access to. Make sense? You should have
Yeah,
access at least one data source, and only then
but
I can. Mhm.
when we say the visualization, so you're
Mhm.
referring to the discovery board, right?
No,
Or
within discovery board
in
visual.
a
See,
discovery board,
I'm sharing the
but
entire disk. In
yeah,
discovery board, there can be multiple visualizations.
yeah, great. But in a sheet, the sheet refers to only one data source, right? Not
No, no,
multiple
no. This
data
is something.
sources.
So we discussed this yesterday, right? Let me
Right.
open this.
Sorry, but I
No
guess
problem. No
I
problem.
have a different.
So you don't select data source on a sheet. You select data source on a visualization. So if I click on this sheet somewhere, let's click on edit. So if I click somewhere on the sheet, if you see, I don't have an option to select data source. It's grayed out. The only thing that you select at the sheet level is the
Yeah,
sheet level filter. So
sheet
where
level
is
filter.
your data sources are relevant for individual visualization. which means I can have one visualization within a sheet on data source A, another visualization on data source B.
Hmm.
Okay?
That's what I felt while I was doing. But I felt okay. So in a sheet, you can only use one data source.
No, no, no.
I
So
didn't.
right.
Okay,
So
okay, okay.
data source is defined at the only thing that is
Visualization.
defined at the sheet level is the sheet level filter. That's it. And the
Okay,
name of the sheet. That's it. So
okay.
only two
Um,
things are defined.
so let's say in one sheet, if I have multiple visualizations. Sorry,
Hmm.
I'm taking it back.
That
But
is fine.
in one sheet, I have multiple visualizations which are from a two different data sources. So if
Hmm.
I'm applying a filter at a sheet level, so
Hmm.
which data source it does take?
So
Does it take from both the?
it takes from good question.
Hmm.
Uh, it only takes on the data source for which that filter is relevant, right? If it doesn't, I'll have to test this myself. I think
Okay.
it only does that on the uh, data source or the visualizations it is relevant. But yeah, let me check that. Very, very valid question. I never thought about that. Okay. But yes, the theory is you can have different data sources for different visualizations. Okay.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
you should have access or permission to at least one data source. Then only I can give you a view permission. The same is the concept for a user group as well, right? So
Hmm.
only
Hmm.
if that security group has access to one data source at least, then I can give them the can view permission. Now, how about can edit permission? So to give can edit permission, the user or group, they must have access to the discovery board's create domain. So only if you have access to this domain, then I can give you the can edit permissions. So let's quickly see why is that I'm not able to share this discovery board with HR partners in the can edit mode, right? So if I come back, click here, share, and if I search for partner in can edit mode, I'm not able to do that. So let's look at the domain discovery board. Create. Let's look at the domain security permissions. If you see only HR administrators, so these are the four security groups that have the modify permission on the discovery board's create domain. And it is this domain that gives you access to create and edit discovery boards. So if you don't have access to edit discovery boards, obviously I cannot give you can edit permission. Make sense?
Yeah.
Let me note down your question as well in my notes. So sheet filters for visualizations built on different data sources.
The other question I had was which I forgot. I was just checking out, so I realized. So how many sheets we can create in a discovery board? I know,
Uh,
like
I
yeah.
have created I think up to 4 or 5 sheets. But let's see. Uh, Let me open this. Edit. So duplicate, and let's create one more duplicate. Let's create one more duplicate. Let's create one more duplicate. At least till now. Again, Workday doesn't give any such limit. So I know with respect to visualizations, there's a limit of 10. Let's see if here as well there's a limit of 10. Oh, again, it allows me to create as many as I want to. Right? But I have not seen at least anywhere where
Mhm.
there has been a specific number mentioned. I can check that. Usually, when you create these discovery boards, as I mentioned, the maximum that I have seen, I have built is up to 4 or 5. I have not gone beyond that because obviously there was never a need for that. But it's more than enough. I think we have added 8 or 9 sheets already, and system keeps allowing you to do that. So I don't think
Okay.
there's a limit. Or even if it's a limit, I don't think we'll ever reach that. So obviously, you'll create a new discovery board. Why do you want to create a discovery board with probably 10 sheets, each with 10 visualization, which is almost 100? So, okay, but I can check that as well. Sheet limit. I'll try getting answer to this question. I'm not sure. In discovery board. All right. I think my battery is anyway which was almost dead, and it's 5:15, so we can stop now. We'll continue with this in
Yeah.
tomorrow's class.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.